Video game companies always try to one-up their previous work. I mean, that makes sense. You make something that is so widely loved, it's only natural you'd want to improve your craft. Franchises often go through reboots, so to speak. A generic title may be mimicking or referencing the original title, but usually with a new coat of paint, identity, and what have you. New Super Mario Bros. Tried to do just that, a seemingly return to form 20 or so years later. Just slap the word new on front and voila, it's funky, it's fresh, it's 2D Mario greatness. New Super Mario Bros. DS was the first of the series of New Super Mario Bros. Titles. While seemingly done with this sub-series now post Mario Wonder World, these games are looked back on with less than stellar favor. Off rip, I believe this is mostly due to a very seemingly copy-paste formula, and at a glance, you may be hard-pressed to even spot differences aside from a general graphic tweak and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, the games are overall simplistic, a generic design layout, and follows the classic Nintendo leveling system for all their games, so to speak, like a plains, desert, water, forest, etc. Does this still mean that they're bad? Well, no. I don't believe that the critics are trying to force that narrative either. You can compare New Super Mario Bros. U, a very nice-looking game, to similar platformers pushing the mold for design, on the sim console too. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze has some outstanding level design as well as some unique set pieces, and just generally is one of the best-looking games on that console. Or take a look at Rayman Legends, a very nice example of the art style really doing some heavy lifting in terms of identity. I cannot think of many games that have an art style outside of this. Both games hold something that Mario was not doing. Try. I do exaggerate a tad. Mario Wonder, already mentioned of course, released in 2023, it showed that Nintendo can do some amazing and creative levels, animations, and the quality really shows through here. Core gameplay is very similar to this series to a degree, but the reception drastically shows that you just put effort to bring something new to the table, it'll get what it's due. So now we escape the tangential rabbit hole I keep digging, as I could honestly yap more about this than anyone cares to really want to listen to. Let us look at the originator of this series. I defend this as not something devoid of creativity or a cash grab at the time, because I think it was genuinely unique. It was not reinventing the wheel, it was simply fixing a perfectly working wheel laid out by the games before it. Without further ado, let's get into a series that seemingly came and went. This is New Super Mario Bros., released for the Nintendo DS in 2006. Let's dive in. Looking back into the past, people referred to this game as a revival of 2D Mario, and 2D platforming as a whole. I found it strange until putting the distance of the games into perspective. Super Mario Land 2 released in 1992, which is a whopping 14 years apart from New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, which is kinda wild to think about, but it also makes a decent amount of sense when you put it into perspective here. Between this was the N64 and the GameCube era for Nintendo. For all gaming, 3D games were in, regardless of quality. Mario saw great success with the 3D transition, 64 and then Sunshine being two great standouts, while the numerous amount of Mario spin-offs saw a wide range of games, just surprisingly not 2D platformer. Red Plumber was no stranger to spin-offs, but the bread and butter became focused on the 3D titles. This would reign true even with the sub-series. During this time, Mario Galaxy would be making waves on the Wii, with 3D Land and 3D World for the 3DS and Wii U. That considered to be more of the mainline games in the Mario series, if you can even pinpoint a main series. Regardless of what fits into the main line and not, attention would be focused on the DS. With its launch in 2004, that still does not feel real to me, mind you, a remake of 64 was met to, well, reception. Moving aside for now, because that's an entirely different video. Eyes were on something new, I can imagine, and the game was revealed in 2005 for its eventual release in 2006. Major key players in this release were Hiroyuki Kimura, who acted as producer. They started working on Mario with Mario 3 as a character designer and moved on to bigger roles, staying with the series to current day, serving as a manager for Mario Wonder even. For the music, Asuka Oda and Hajime Wakai were lead composers, with legendary Koji Kondo providing supervision as well as assisting with the music in general. The music and sound design I feel gets special praise here, but we will get to that when we actually talk about the game proper. Another interesting tidbit is that this game was the first original 2D Mario appearance of legacy voice for Mario Charles Martinet. Maybe not as surprising now that I think about it as well, because trying to hear Charles Martinet's voice lines on the Game Boy might be a little jarring.
Me, Mario.
New Super Mario Bros. Released to great reviews and even greater sales. This was the best-selling game on the DS by far, around 7 million ahead of second place. In terms of what I said at the beginning of this section, this was really all in a sense a revival of 2D Mario. I remember getting this game and playing the hell out of it for many hours. This is one of the first games I 100%. I spent a lot of time trying to find all the secrets, star coins, and what have you. It was a blast then and to many others. To no surprise to anyone, the success led to 3 follow-up games in this new series. It set a standard for Mario and 2D gaming, especially in the Nintendo universe. While the reception, as I alluded to, sours over the next 2 decades or so for the series in general, I feel that New Super Mario Bros. Is an outlier. To me at least, I do not believe it means to keep a genre or series stagnant of ideas. The ideas here were fresh, and if anything, the mechanics here were kept in most mainline Mario games and platformers to this day. I believe it was a trendsetter in every sense of the word. Now, let's talk about the plot. Mario Brothers. From the pressing start, you are sent into the game that mirrors the original Mario series. I mean, hell, that's no secret. The new in New Super Mario Bros. Is put in front of the game's title. This is not a remake or a successor, so to speak. The new here works wonders. In my opinion, this is a reimagining of the NES starter. Hence why we see the limited world design going for more generic worlds. The level layout of 1-1 not really hiding its influence. The lack of supporting cast as well shows the game is more of a walk down memory lane for the OG Mario heads. You start playing the game and hear a familiar rendition. The music having a funky new twist to it. Not only with the sound and visuals, however, but the gameplay itself. Subverting what a fan of the NES original would see, this game throws a brand new power-up into the fray here in place of a usual power-up. The first and standout power-up that we see here is introduced as the Mega Mushroom, blowing Mario up to massive sizes. The Mega Mushroom is a cathartic ability, allowing you to plow through almost anything. 1-1 here is perfect testing grounds for the power-up's capabilities, and to farm lives here as well, if I'm being honest. The destruction meter on top as well rewards the player with causing more mayhem. You gotta love it. If you make it to the flagpole, you can crush the end goal, giving a unique victory. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you create something that honors a legacy while also making something new. Is it the most iconic level in gaming? Nah, but it is a great level to set the standard that is this very game. Let's go back to the music. The composers here were peak. The iconic music adding to the enemy movement and jumps in time with the beat is so cool. The Koopas dancing to the song is very meme-worthy, but intended with game design to time the player jumps to reach secrets. Not an overlooked part, I feel it's underappreciated though. Nintendo masking a rhythm game and becoming the highest seller for the DS is honestly a diabolical move, and I'm all here for it. It is cute as it is memorable, as it is very Nintendo coded to do. It falls in line with the creativeness that makes this company so well regarded. Music to me plays a vital role in video games. Oftentimes they set the stage and convoke emotion far better than any writing dialogue could. For New Super Mario Bros. That would be extraordinarily stretching, but including it in gameplay as opposed to making something to complement the main course was an extremely smart decision, and it really went above and beyond. Alright, actual gameplay past the first level here. My hands cannot give out yet from the handy I've been dealing to this game so far. Gameplay, it's very standard Mario, jumping, coins, enemies, super mushrooms, fire flower, etc. A very small, albeit intentional amount of power-ups makes it here. The super mushroom, fire flower, and Starman along with the Mega Mushroom. 2 other new ones make their appearance here as well. The blue shell does not nuke the enemy closest to the flagpole, but gives a Mario shell power-up. Honestly, I love this ability. Although its uses are limited, it can replace grabbing an occupied Koopa shell by just hitting a sprinting speed to skirt along everywhere it can. Add in some well-timed hops and you've got a very fun but hectic power-up. Lastly is the mini mushroom. You're tiny. The perks here give you a very floaty space-like jump, the ability to Jesus any water nearby, and enter tiny pipes and other passages. The downsides are plenty, obviously treated like no power-ups, where you die if you get hit once. Even worse off, other power-ups negate the mini mushroom. You get a regular mushroom and you'll just go to normal size. It kinda sucks that way. You cannot injure enemies the way of good old stomping, but with a ground pound instead. Obviously, you are a small, fast target, so use at your own risk. It has its ups and downs for sure. Obviously, if you want to hit all worlds and find the secrets, you will need to practice with all the power-ups, especially the mini. The DS as a dual screen does not do a whole much lot to innovate here. It acts as the information hub, which is honestly totally fine, as it clears up the main screen for you. The bottom has your score, a sort of progress tracker that gives a rough display of how far you are into the level, and where the checkpoint is if you reach it. It also has an item holder allowing storage of an extra item. Say you are Fire Mario and you find an extra fire flower. You can store it for later, doubly nice for item houses on the scene in the overworld. We'll get to that in just a sec. A great mechanic for using an item in a pinch, or holding on to some of the rarer power-ups for needed secrets. Lastly is the Star Coins. Star Coins are introduced here as a genesis for the 3 collectibles in each stage type we see since, if I'm not mistaken. This holds staple in pretty much any and every Mario platformer sense, and even outside in other video games as well, sometimes just being a marker for completion. 3 Star Coins are usually gotten through challenging platforming, secret entrances, and the like. You have to collect the coin and make it through the level alive for them to count. They hold a sort of special currency, allowing Mario to pass areas in the overworld, as well as unlocking secret areas and item houses. The item houses are 3 in variety. The Mega Houses give you a Mega Mushroom, the most simple. The standard Red House is a roulette of items to gain for your storage space upon timing your hit. The Green House is a life-gathering minigame. You get an assortment of lives, multipliers, and Bowsers. You have to guess the sequence to gain the most profit, hit Bowser, and it ends. But you keep any and all lives you may have gotten to that point. Lastly, the overworld. Finding secret exits in Mario levels is nothing really new. Leading here to things like warp pipes or cannons allow some speedy travel through the game if you so wish. The overworld sports 8 worlds, and as I've said already, it's pretty generic for theming for the most part. 1 is grasslands, 2 is desert, 3 is the ocean, 4 is forest, 5 is snow, 6 is mountain, 7 is clouds, and 8 is hell. Interestingly enough, worlds 4 and 7 are entirely optional, and a little trickier to reach if progressing normally. You go from 3 to 5 to 6 to 8 respectively. The way to reach these is obtuse initially, but let's move on for the time being. We'll touch upon that in just a sec. At the midpoint of World 1 is the tower level. We see these in each world where Bowser Jr. is the one stealing away Peach. He acts as the mid-boss for each world, a staple we see in the new series here, but each world hosts slightly different changes, usually incorporating a theme to try to up the difficulty for the fight. Once to the end is the castle level, a final challenge for the world ending with Bowser. The Bowser fight in World 1 is once again reminiscent of NES Mario. Hit button, bye Bowser, lovely. You'll repeat this, of course, right? Bowser Jr. and Bowser for every world? Well, World 2, the desert, shows us something else, new. See what we're doing here? A mummified Pokey is our boss for the second world. A pretty cool design, not super innovative to any degree, following the classic 3 hits to win formula, but I like having unique fights as opposed to just Bowser and or Bowser Jr. The newer games rehashing the Koopa Kids more often than the remakes of The Last of Us is kind of freaking annoying. World 2 is also how we get to World 4. This same will be for World 5 later. After beating the boss, you will see a small tunnel that leads to a secret area, implying that to beat the boss again is Mini Mario. A little bit more challenging, but if you do, you take the secret path to World 4. I found this super cool as a kid, and liked the added levels if one so wishes. Moving to the other worlds, 3 has a giant Cheep boss, 4 is a giant Goomba, 5 is Petey Piranha, 6 is a Monty Mole in a fucking tank, and 7 is a Lakitu that shoots out lightning and has really sick shades. Getting to World 8, Hell, is definite difficulty leap for the game. It is rather tough in each level, really testing your Mario ability. In the castle, we come across Bowser, who all but thought died in World 1, but he is now Dry Bowser. The fight is mostly the same, but I really like the change here. After beating him, we were tricked into thinking that this was the end, as we were shown the second half of World 8. There's more levels, more towers, and finally at the end of it all is a giant mega castle for the finale. As you'd expect, the level is fitting of the endgame. At the end is Bowser Jr. reviving his dad through necromancy, and you end it with a double Bowser fight. Not super difficult, but hit the switch and watch the duo plummet to the ground. Or fire flower them to death. That works too. It's also very easy. Save Peach, get smooched, the end, Mario game done. At the end, you can freely go around trying to finish up any levels you missed or gather any extra collectibles like the Star Coins. Unfortunately, a big missed opportunity was for a special world, something we see a lot in Mario games, newer and older, but the game is right packed with a good chunk of levels, as well as we see some slightly obscure ways to gather some of the Star Coins. It is a modest length, and if going for 100%, it does spend some good time. I overall still love it. So wrapping up, this is a game that loves the psych! We still got freaking multiplayer mode. Normally, I kind of brush aside any aspects of the multiplayer. I'm a big single-player gamer. I like long RPGs as opposed to putting hundreds of hours into online shooters or other multiplayer-like games. I played the Nintendo DS when while all my classmates had Xbox 360s and Call of Duty. Well, when I got to that generation, it was the PS3, so I'm still kind of out of the loop for gaming with friends. Sometimes, though, multiplayer is huge. Enter DS Download Play. While not exclusive to this game, it was a feature for the DS that allowed multiplayer with only one game cartridge. This was simply fantastic feature to the DS. It added longevity and mileage to the handheld where you can play with friends without shelling out the cash for a new game. For a 10-year-old Josh and his friends on the bus, this was stellar. I had a lot of good memories sneaking my DS onto the school bus to play with my friends. Games like Mario Kart DS, this game, or hell, even Call of Duty that had a surprisingly fun mode for the freaking DS. This was such a good time, and I really miss the idea of this concept. A product of the time for sure, but a really damn good one. Anyways, to this specifically, this had a fun multiple multiplayer modes. I went on a nostalgia trip and played these for some videos as they hold a core part of my memory and love for the game. First of all, it's an easy one to understand, Mario vs. Luigi mode. This places you and another opponent in a small stretch of a looping level. You get some power-ups, you race and try to get the stars as they appear. You collect your chosen amount of stars for the win and battle your opponent. The bottom map shows the location of the star when it appears, but you can forgo that and attack your brother. If successful, the player gets stunned for a second and drops a star if they have one. You can go back and forth until the time limit is reached. Memories of loving the blue shell power-up lie honestly a lot here. Skirting along the map trying to strike your opponent is so damn fun. Also fun is getting the Mega Mushroom in the pipe level. Something about complete devastation of the map is kind of exhilarating. This can get a lot of bang for your buck if this was the only mode. However, we got minigames. Sharing some with Mario 64 3D, a collage of Mario Party-esque minigames lies here. Another semi-relevant meme is the Find Luigi game called Wanted. This one is very fun. Another notable game is the Gambling with Luigi type games, a lot of different card games here. Speed is a very fun card game, probably better if you played actual cards as opposed to on a DS, but I digress. Bob-Omb Sudden Death is pretty chaotic, sorting Bob-Ombs into different cages, launching them to the opponent when full. The quick on-the-fly strategy to do a small burst of Bob-Ombs or launch a full 10 Bob-Ombs for a win is really good. Also, we get Yoshi Dating Sim. I don't know, the concept is weird, sad, and goofy all in one package. Also appreciate the Yoshi Story flower reference here, I guess. This won't make or break one's perception of the game, but it is a fun distraction, and I urge you to try it out with a friend or more. Some of the minigames are divided into 1v1 like the Bob-Omb Sudden Death, but you can get a squad up to 4 players for this mode and have fun too. Many minigames cross over with the DS remake of 64, as I said, so chances are you may have tried out either or. This just hits different when it's 7 AM on a cool foggy bus ride to elementary or middle school. Biggest worry back then is if the lunch was going to be hit or miss then. Feeling old. The whole package together is a very meaty game for the DS. Back when they cost around 40 bucks, this game was a blast and had loads of charm. It may be the origin for a more lack of creativity from the development side of games. I mean, case in point, I neglected to mention standout levels to me. That is something of a big critique. Aside from the first few levels and a few of the castle or tower levels, I do not necessarily remember any of the levels. They may be fun, but rarely break the mold of a very solid 2D platforming level. That may be in part to not having unique names, but many levels kind of just intersect to me and I never remember them specifically. The levels you do get are great though. I love the feeling Mario holds with the new series. The added weight to some things, along with the stampy movement, the wall jump being very easy to perform, and mentioning following along to the music movements is very great. It may be one of my favorite controls for 2D Mario, if I'm being honest. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I definitely prefer this to something like World. I know a lot of people grow up with that. I guess this is probably something I grew up with and I can easily more relate to. I think for a new entry into the Subseries that would start a long string of games design, this was a fantastic start to it. There is little in the way of super large glaring issues I overall see. Maybe this can't be said about the newer games in this new series, but that will maybe come in due time. Graphically, it looks more muddy than what we see on the Wii U, but what do you mean? It was on the DS. I think it serves its purpose fine and overall looks totally okay. I hold a lot of love for this game, and still regard it as one of my favorites in this little series of Mario games. It also holds a place as just one of my favorite platformers. It's one of those games that stick in my head for masterclass DS games and 2D game design for me. You really need to give it a try if you have not played this one, see where it all began, enjoy it, just have fun. That's honestly what this game is all about, nothing more than pure, simple fun. But that's it. Peace out, guys.